Hello. How are you doing? As usual, Instagram is doing its little thing. There we go. I think almost. Wait, I probably have to click it one more time. Sometimes I can click it twice and it works, and sometimes I have to click it like 5 times. I think we're there. All right, cool beans. I really wish there was a way to get that done before I hit live. But oh well. Um, sorry. All right. So how y'all doing? We are getting to that stressful time of year, right? The year is ending. Those of you who celebrate Christmas, that's in 1 week. Those of you who celebrate Hanukkah, that starts in 1 week. I know it's not one of the high holidays, but it is 8 nights of giving, which means you have to come up with lots of gifts. so, so there's still, I'm sure, some stress that goes along with that. Um, I'm sure there are other gift giving things and other holidays that, as fun as they are, can sometimes cause a little stress. Hello, Sarah. I really am uneducated as far as Kwanzaa goes, so I'm not sure if that includes gifts or not, or any other religions. Um, but I do know, in addition to the gift giving holidays, of course, we have the New Year starting, which, while just in general New Year may not like, it's not like it's a gift giving holiday. It's usually just like fun and going to a party and having some champagne and giving somebody gifts, which is usually fun. I was going to say always fun, but I guess it depends on who you are and who you're kissing, right? And if you have anyone to kiss. Anyway, um, maybe I've had a little too much caffeine today. um, with the new year, of course, comes all the other stress things that attach to it, like taxes and schedules. And if you have a business, you have to think about your next year's budget. And I know I'm thinking about sponsors, and I probably should have thought about sponsors like a month or two ago, because people are working on their budgets for next year and may already be done with their budgets for next year. So I probably should have thought about sponsors already. And there's all of that stuff, and W-2s, which should have been done already, and 1099s, which need to be done. And yeah, New Year's can be stressful, right? So I just wanted to remind you guys, now that I've probably stressed you out, to breathe. And I do have some gifts for you. That's got the T at the end, not GIF, GIFT, S, because there's multiple. For you, they are going to be on the blog. Sarah is so laughing at my highly caffeinated self here. Okay, I've cut back on the amount of caffeine. I realized when I went to England with the craft tours with Moogly. I When I came back, I found myself drinking a lot more tea than coffee, and I was not getting as much caffeine, I guess. And so when I actually have coffee now, it definitely hits me more. Hello, Monique. Um, so, um, as I was saying, I do have some gifts for you. They will be on the blog. I was like in the process of writing the blog post right now, um, because it's some free printables. So there are two, well, 13, depending on how you count them, free printables. Monique is on Facebook and YouTube, just to make sure everything's working, because she's awesome like that. So I have some free printables. Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, pop doesn't do anything for you caffeine wise, but coffee is super effective. Don't you mean soda, Sarah? Soda. It's not pop, it's soda. I'll let everybody speak in whatever manner their local area tells them to. Um, but I get it. I know. It depends from person to person what things affect them more. I know. Monique says she calls it pop, and Sarah says pop forever. I am being outvoted. All right, come on. I need some soda, people. Soda. Anyway, so let's go to number one. Okay. So this super fun. It's a yarn a day color sheet. Now I'm going. This is printed out on just regular printer paper. I'm going to reprint mine on a piece of cardstock. And what I'm going to do, if you look, you see how it's got every month of the year on here, and the letters are divided up. They're divided up so however many days there are in that month, there's pieces of letters. So like May has 31 days and is only 3 letters long. So you can see the pieces are absolutely tiny. February has 28 days in 2025 because it is not a leap year. And so, and how many letters is that? 3, 6, 8 letters. And so it's got some pretty big pieces. All right. So what you can do is every day that you do something, you can choose. I have this one written as yarn a day, and I'm using it for yarn. You could, of course, print out multiples of these and use them for anything you want. It's like a tracker. Um, but I'm using mine for every day that I crochet or knit, right? And what I'm going to do is in January, if I crochet or knit on the first day, I'm going to color in the first piece. And I'm going to color it the color that I use the most of with my knit or crochet that day. So whatever color that I use the most of yarn wise, I'll color in the first little spot on January. And then on the second, I'll color in for that one, and so on and so forth. You can either kind of count them as 1, 2, 3, 4 that way, or you can just color them in, like start at the beginning, and then if you skip 3 days, it'll be 3 blank spots on the Y or whatever, however you want to do it. But it's just a fun way to kind of track what you're doing throughout the year, and then you can kind of show it off. You guys, you feel free to show them on your social media channels. If you do share them, like as you're coloring them in on your social media channels, of course, I would love it if you linked it back to the blog post where you got it for free. Other people will be able to get it for free that way as well. And, you know, it gets me a little publicity. Woohoo! Okay, we have another comment. So good. Colored pencils are needed. Yes. I have, and I meant to grab it and bring it over. I have a big thing of, I think it's 72 gel pens. Some are glittery and some are not, that I think I'm going to use for mine. But again, colored pencils work. I mean, you can, whatever, heck, you could paint it if you wanted. Again, like I said, I'm going to reprint this onto cardstock for me. And it'll just be fun. I might, you know, find a place to kind of hang it so you guys can see it as the year progresses. But it's just a fun little thing to do, right? So that's free. And then the other thing I have, which I thought I had a printout of it, but I guess I printed out everything but the calendar because the calendar is made to be printed in color. I have a rainbow colored monthly calendar that is crochet themed, or sorry, that is yarn themed. All right. So it's yarn themed. Like I think there's 1 month that is kind of crochet themed and 1 month that's kind of knit themed. But then like on October, there's little pictures of little skeins of yarn. And then I put, it's like a little, it's like graphic of a skein of yarn. And then I stuck a, jack-o'-lantern face. I made it orange yarn and I stuck a jack-o'-lantern face on it. So they're like yarn jack-o'-lanterns. It's really cute. And like December, there's little snowflakes made out of like the little kind of knit stitches. And I just had fun with it. Okay. And they're all, so the entire calendar is kind of yarn themed. And what you can then do is print it out. I do have it, like I said, it's rainbow. You could probably print it out in grayscale and it would still look good. And you just go ahead and print it out, and then you can just fill in. I made the squares like as big as I could, because I know that we want to be able to actually fill those in with things. So you can print it out and have it as your little calendar. Again, you can print it out on cardstock. It's only 12, because there's 12 months in the year. And it is specific for 2025. So those will both be available completely for free on the Crochet Foundry blog. So you go to crochetfoundry.com and there's a little navigation at the top, and one of the little links says blog. And if you're on a phone or a mobile device, when you're on crochetfoundry.com, there's the hamburger menu, which is those 3 lines. It's called a hamburger menu, which I just find amusing. If you click on that, then it drops down the navigation menu and one of them says blog. You click on that and it will be a post today because it is almost done, but not entirely. So it will be up today. When this is over, I'm probably going to grab some lunch and then finish the post because I'm kind of hungry. So those will be ready by the end of the day easily, before our sit and stitch tonight, which is from 6 to 8 Eastern time tonight. So it's just after 12. So in just about 6 hours is when our sit and stitch starts tonight. And which means in just about 2 hours, you will get an email reminder if you are on the newsletter list. If you want to get that email reminder and you're not on the newsletter list, you can go to crochetfoundry.com, scroll down, find the little join the newsletter, click that, join the newsletter, you'll get it. Also, though, you always know when the sit and stitches are happening by going to crochetfoundry.com. In the navigation menu again, there's a little one that says community. If you click on that, you'll find one of the little things that drops down that says sit and stitch. Click on that, and it always gives you the upcoming sit and stitch schedule, along with the links where you can register. I believe I have it set up so if you click to register within 24 hours of the actual sit and stitch, it just will immediately send you the link. But the reason you would let you register and have to give it your email is so it can send you the link and the reminder and all of that fun stuff. Okay. I don't keep those emails. I don't automatically sign you up to the newsletter if you weren't already on the newsletter or anything like that. So nothing happens with those emails other than making sure you get the information you need to go to that sit and stitch, and then those emails are forgotten. Gone. Okay. I very much like to be transparent and to not do things to you guys or with your information that you don't know about, because I think that's kind of skeevy. So there you have all of that. And then the other things I wanted to get to today that I'll do a little slower because they're more tutorial like and I just was going fast so I could get to them, is I wanted to talk about a couple ways to join yarn that don't always require weaving in ends, okay? Because I know weaving in ends can make, you can just have so many ends to weave in, and it's such a pain. So some of these ways work better if you're doing the same color, and some of these ways are okay if you're changing color. Of course, any of these, if you're changing color, getting it to change at the exact right spot is kind of a pain if you do any of these methods. So I also was going to just remind you on the best way to change color as you're going with your crochet as well. So why don't we do a couple of those real quick? Hold on, we have a couple more comments. Let me just scroll over here. Monique, I am with you, Monique. Hate weaving in ends. Yes. So a reminder for when you're changing color. This one is not thinking about ends. This is just for when you're changing colors. Remember, you change before you change with the last yarn over pull through of the previous stitch. So what I have here is I have a single crochet row, half double, double, treble. Those are English, American terms for the stitches. All right, so I'm just going to do a couple singles here and show you that real quick. All right, so I'm on the single crochet where I have to change the color. So I'm going to start my single crochet, and now it's time for the very last yarn over pull through. So I drop the pink and I pick up the gray and I make the last yarn over pull through with the gray. Okay, and then I make the next stitch. And what this does is, you see how the top loop of this stitch is still gray? If I had done the last yarn over pull through in the pink, that top loop would be pink. Okay, so if that's what you want, bitchin', do it. If it's not what you want, then don't do that. All right, so now we'll skip over to a double crochet. All right, so I'm just going to start a couple double crochets real quick, and then we'll look at how that happens. And you'll notice I'm kind of just leaving all of my, whenever I change the color, I'm just leaving them on the back of the work. So that last row was a front side row. This row is a back side row. So I am on, or a wrong side row. I am on my double crochet here. And this is the one where I'm going to change my color. It's the last double crochet in gray. So I'm going to start my double crochet and work that double crochet until I'm at the point where I have my last yarn over, pull through, and then the double crochet will be done. What I'm going to do now is I'm not going to make that yarn over, pull through with the gray. I'm going to drop the gray on the wrong side of my work. I'm going to pick up the pink, and I'm going to make the last yarn over, pull through in the pink. And now I'm going to make make the next stitch. I had to remember what stitch I was making, and keep on going across the end to the end here. All right. And now you can see how my stitches, the top loop of every stitch matches the rest of the stitch. All right, so here was a treble. Let's see, right to, I think, there we go. There's the treble, that's double, there's a half double, there's the single, and there was another row of singles right here. So all I'm doing is the very last yarn over pull through is in the next color, right? And that is the way to make your stitches so that the top loop of the stitch matches the rest of the stitch. All right, I know most people know that already, but I don't know, sometimes we get new people, sometimes you don't have a lot of color changing happening and things you make, so maybe you didn't know that. So I like to share. So now let's do a couple ways to join yarn where you don't have to weave in the ends, okay? And these are some of these techniques some of us love, some of these techniques some of us hate. I'm just going to teach them to you. You decide what you like. All right, so we have gray over here and pink over here. And the first one I'm going to teach you is the magic knot, which I learned at my very first Crochet Guild of America show I went to, the conference. And that was 11 years ago, and it was in October. And my very first professional crochet class I ever took, I'd been crocheting since I was 8, but the first professional crochet class I ever took was with Margaret Hubert. And it was like, it was just ways to make your crochet look more professional. So, how to do nice borders, all this wonderful, wonderful tips. Oh, look at this. Monique says she's never been able to do the magic knot, and that's what we're going to do. So Margaret had just learned it because we were talking about weaving in ends at one point, and Margaret had just learned this one. She's like, I just learned this, and I want to show it to you. And it was really fun because she did it, and then she's like, and it doesn't come undone. She's like, here, let's try it. And I was sitting there next to Lorene Eppolite, who's the CEO of Furls. At that time, we were just like baby crochet bloggers who were at our first conference, and we were so excited. We went together, and it was fun, right? And so Margaret's like, here, come here, she says to Lorene, and she has Lorene hold one end of the yarn, and Margaret holds the other, and she's like, pull, and Lorene's like, I don't want to pull you over. But it was so they're both pulling, and the knot's not coming out. It was really cute. So anyway, we have our 2 colors of yarn here, okay? I'm using 2 different colors so you can see what's happening, all right? So we have our 2 colors of yarn here. And what you do is you take one of them, we're going with the one on the top, and you're going to wrap it around the other one, okay? So you see how I've wrapped it around? I wrapped the pink around the gray. And now I'm going to make a loop and pull it through so that it's pulling the opposite direction of the gray end, okay? Like that. Now, I'm going to take the gray and I'm going to wrap it around the pink. And again, I'm going to wrap it over itself and pull it through so that the end of the gray is going the opposite direction of the end of the pink. I'm not tightening them incredibly, I'm just tightening them just snug. And now I take the live ends of the yarn and pull them until those 2 match up. And then this is when what I usually do is kind of hold on tight to the live ends, and then I pull each of the cut ends tightly, pull this again, and just kind of give it a couple tugs, get it nice and secure. And then what you can do is clip these ends nice and snug, okay? Right up against the knots. All right, and then you can just crochet or knit or whatever with it, and it stays together. I've never had one of these come apart if I tightened them really well in the first place, okay? If you want a tutorial on the magic knot, you can, here, let me pull it up. I should have done this already now that I'm thinking about it, but I just realized that you might want that. We will pull up the link. I just need to find it. Hey, open. It's at jessieathome.com. I have a tutorial for it, and you can always just go to that and then type in magic knot in the search bar. If you hit the little picture of the magnifying glass, um, that would be this. That will then give you a little thing you can fill in. But here we go. Oh, well, that was easy. jessieathome.com/stitchopedia-magic-knot. But let me put that in here. Banner. Create a banner. I know. I should have been more prepared here. There we go. Stitchopedia Magic Knot. All right. And I might be able to add it as a comment. I can. I just added the link as a comment over on Instagram. And then let me see if I add it as a comment over here. I don't know if it actually shows up. If this doesn't show up as a comment on Facebook and oh, it looks like it does. It shows up on Facebook and on YouTube. Awesome. All right, cool beans. So that is where you can find a tutorial for this. It's got step-by-step photos and a video and everything like that. All right. So that's the magic knot. And then let's see, I wrote down all of the ones that I know so that I don't forget anything else. There is what's called a weaver's knot. I have never used this before. This is one I just used. This is one I just learned, sorry, and I haven't used it before. But I'm kind of interested to see how it works, right? Let me get this banner off. All right. So I'm kind of interested to see how it works. So you start off by making a slip knot in one of your ends. All right. So just however you make a slip knot. I make a slip knot by just twisting, like I put my fingers through. I twist. Okay. And then I grab the end with the fingers. What did I just do? Oh, I'm doing the wrong thing. Sorry. I twist this way. Okay. I twist and then I grab a loop here and pull that through. The other way I like to do it as well, that is more common way for me to do it, is I simply have my crochet hook. I have the yarn behind it. I wrap the yarn over the crochet hook so that it crosses in front of itself. I hold that end piece back here. I grab the live yarn over, pull through like I'm making a chain, and that actually makes a slip knot. So I'll show that to you one more time. Okay. Put the yarn behind the crochet hook with the cut end on the top. Wrap that cut end around and in front of the live end. Hold it to the back, and then just yarn over, pull through like you're making a chain. And that makes a slip knot, okay? So I have that slip knot and pull it so it's kind of tight, not like, super tight, but tight enough. Then all you do is you take the end of your other yarn, you push it through the loop of the slip knot, okay? Give yourself a couple inches there. And then you turn it over, you take your slip knot, both ends, the live end that we're pretending that's still attached to the ball of yarn, and the cut end, and you pull it and you pop the slip knot inside out and it pulls that pink through, okay? So it pulls the other color through. And then what you do is you take your live ends, the two ends that are still attached to the yarn, and you pull those really tight, that are still attached to the yarn ball. You pull those really tight. You don't pull the cut ends, only pull the live ends of the yarn nice and tight. And this will, apparently you can cut this right by the edge and it will not, right by the knot, I mean, you can cut it right by the knot and you don't have ends to weave in, okay? And it will not go away, not. Okay, so it will not disappear. So, I mean, yeah, I cut it, I'm pulling it, it's not going anywhere. I don't know. Try it out. See what you think. It's called a weaver's knot. There's a couple ways to make it, but that's the easiest way to make it. Is you just make a slip knot with one of the pieces, slide the other one through the slip knot, and pull both ends of the slip knot to kind of turn it inside out and pull this other one through it. So that is the weaver's knot. And then the other one I know is the Russian join, which I myself am not fond of, but that's just me, right? So for the Russian join, you have to use a needle. I prefer to use a really sharp yarn needle. Okay, so this is a yarn needle, but it's really sharp. They're not as easy to find. You can find them. Sometimes they will be listed as, if you're looking for them, sometimes they're a bookbinding supply or bookmaking supply. Sometimes doll making supplies, okay? And sometimes upholstery. So doll making needles, upholstery needles, and bookbinding or bookmaking needles are places where you might find a sharp yarn needle, okay? Going to try these and ask about it tonight at the sit and stitch. Awesome. So for the Russian join, sorry, I'm just trying to, there we go. For the Russian join, you start off with one of your pieces. And what you want to do is fold it, decide where your fold is going to be, okay? Because you're going to essentially, where's another long piece that is attached to something? You're essentially going to be folding your pieces. I don't know why somebody's at my door and I really don't care. Fold the pieces and you're weaving them back through each other. All right. So if you want to have that other piece there just so that you can see where you are, go for it. It's not really important for right now, but it will be eventually. So go ahead and just sew through your yarn. Okay. So if I want my fold right here, I'm going to start right above where I want the fold to be. And I'm going to sew through the center of my yarn. All right, and this is why this works so much better with a sharp needle. But I sew through the center of my yarn. Now you want to make sure that the other piece of yarn is put through this loop. If you didn't have it there already, put it through there now. So if like you just were doing this, then you just have to take your other yarn and pull it through, okay? And then pull this one through. All right, and kind of straighten it out. And now we kind of have to do the similar thing with the other end. So take your other end of yarn, put it on your yarn needle. Okay. And now right where you're going to have that fold, not in the pink, but just above the pink where you're going to have that fold, you're going to start going through your gray yarn again. Okay. The end, the live end, the end that's still attached to your ball of yarn. Okay, so I'm doing that again where I'm just sewing through the center of the yarn. All right. Obviously, this works better with certain kinds of yarns than others because you have to sew through the center of your yarn. You can't do that with, if you have if you have a yarn that's practically a thread, this isn't going to work so well, right? So you just have to figure out what yarns it works with and what it doesn't. All right, so now that I have that pulled all the way through, you kind of straighten them out. You give them a tug, okay? And once you've done that, you can take your scissors. Make sure you're only cutting the tail. You're not cutting any of the other yarn, the live yarn. You don't want to accidentally do that, okay? And give it a tug, and now you can crochet or knit along, and you'll have, this is why I'm not so keen on this one. This part is going to be a little thicker than the rest of it, right? Because these have doubled up pieces of yarn here. So that's why I'm not keen on it, because it makes a thick section in your work. That's what I don't like. But again, I'm teaching these methods. You decide what works for you. And sometimes they work better for one thing than they work for another. Monique, okay, we have a couple comments here. wait. Oh, sorry, Dor. Jesse is busy with us. Exactly. Uh, done magic knot a lot. Want to try the Russia join. Never heard of the weaver's knot. Yeah, I only heard of the weaver's knot last week, which is what made me think, ooh, that would be a fun thing to talk about the different ways to join yarn on the lunch with the Foundry. So that's actually what inspired me to chat with that about you guys. Chat with you about that today because I learned a new one. Um, let's see. And Monique says, is that something that will work best with plied yarn? Yes. The Russian join is going to work best with plied yarn. Theoretically, you could do it with like a roving kind of yarn, a single ply yarn. Again, you definitely have to have a thick, not a thick, a sharp needle. And like if you have, you want to think about the width of your needle as well. Okay, so if I have a fingering yarn, this needle is way too thick to do a one ply fingering weight yarn. Okay, even a plied fingering weight yarn, this needle is way too thick. You'd want to use more of, okay, this one isn't sharp, but if this were sharp, this is an embroidery needle. Okay, so if you have like a needlepoint needle, or I think are the cruel needles the ones that are sharp? I can't remember. I should know this stuff. You know, I used to. But you know, you need if you're working with a thinner yarn, you want a thinner needle, but you still, here we go. Here's a nice thinner yarn needle that has a point at the end. So you kind of have to think about what works best with your yarn, but you also need it to be able to get the yarn through the eye of the needle as well, which is why you have a lot of needles. Look, it's a beignet. I got it from Freddy Goat. They have a cool pattern for making a beignet needle pillow, and they made a bunch before they went to a crochet show in New Orleans, and they were giving them away. So I have my little Freddy Goat beignet. Anyway, all right, so there was the Russian join. So we did, I think those are basically the three that I know of that are good for making joining your yarn and not having to weave in the ends. We have the Russian join, which gives you kind of a thicker spot where it's joined, right? For a decent amount of space, because you need to make sure those are long enough. All right, if they're not long enough, it doesn't work. So you need to make sure that you've got a decent amount of that part where it's woven in. Okay, so that's the Russian join. And then we have the magic knot, which I gave you the link to where you can see the instructions for that. All right, and then we have our weaver's knot. Why don't we do the weaver's knot one more time, since that one seems to be new to a lot of people, and I don't yet have a tutorial up for it. So to do the weaver's knot, again, you start off with a slip knot, however you make your slip knots, which I make by simply making a chain. And there's my slip knot. Okay, so you start off by making your slip knot. Then you take your other color of yarn or piece of yarn, your second piece of yarn, you slide it through your loop for your slip knot, take both ends of your slip knot yarn and pull it until you pop pop the knot inside out. Okay, so I popped my knot inside out. Now you take the live end, the end still attached to yarn, to the yarn ball of both pieces of yarn, and that's what you pull really tight to tighten it. Okay, pull that really tight to tighten your knot, and then you can take your nice sharp scissors and cut right up against the knot. And there is your weaver's knot. Okay, pulling it tight, it's not coming apart. Like I said, I haven't used this one, so I can't speak to that because I only just learned it, but there you go. All right, let's see. We have a couple, wait, let's go back. Where's the last one? Okay. What method do I use or prefer? Oh, there's one more. I almost forgot. There is one more that I learned recently as well. I don't know what you call it. I should have one more piece of gray that hasn't been attached, although it doesn't really matter, does it? I can use one that is attached. Well, okay. Here we go. Let me show you this one because I tend to go back and forth between the magic knot and then this one that I only learned about a year ago. Okay. So I don't know what to call this one. It's kind of hard to show on the video. All right. You line up your two ends. Okay. And you pinch them in your thumb with the ends pointing up. Then you take one of your live ends of yarn. These are my cut ends, obviously. You take one of your live ends of yarn. You wrap it around your thumb and those ends. There's once and there's twice. The second time I'm going on top. Okay, so twice. And then this time you wrap it, the third time you wrap it just around the yarn behind your thumb. Okay. Now you carefully kind of slip your thumb out most of the way and tuck these ends over that third loop and then through the other two loops. All right. Now you take the yarn that you that you wrapped, and you slowly tighten it. And this is where like you kind of get the hang of how to do this. You have to do it a few times because otherwise it comes apart really easily. Now, if you do this perfectly, it comes apart. Like when I say it comes apart easily, if you do it wrong, it comes apart while you're tightening it. Once it's tightened, if you got it to tighten, then you're good. All right. It's just you figuring out finagling it and figuring out how to tighten it and everything so it works as easily as I just made it look is the learning curve on this one. Once you pull it tight, you can clip these ends. If you like are really good at this, then you can usually do it so that there aren't even ends to clip Okay, so I'm going to clip the ends and then I'm going to try it. I'll do it one more time. All right. We'll take this end and this end here. Oops, pink. All right, so we'll do it one more time. All right, we've got our two ends up here. All right, and now I'm going to take this end. I'm going to wrap it around my thumb and the ends. And then I'm going to wrap it again on top of the other one, around my thumb and the ends. And then one more time around just the ends. Then I'm going to tuck the ends in, slide my thumb out most of the way, and tuck the ends in underneath those two loops that went around my thumb, so where my thumb was. And then I'm just kind of pinching that fold so that it doesn't come unfolded, and then tightening the pink one, the wrapped one, up over top of everything. All right. And now is when you would need to clip all of that fuzziness. Again, like I said, when you get this down really well, there isn't the fuzziness. It's hard to do it so you can see what I'm doing and do it well. All right, so there you go. Monique asked which method I use or prefer. I tend to vary between this one that I just did that I do not know the name of and the magic knot. Where's the magic knot? That is not it. That's the weaver's knot. But I haven't used the weaver's knot before. Here, that's the other weaver's knot. So this must be, haha. Here we go. And the magic knot. Now you'll notice the magic knot, if you're changing colors, it does that little color change. The weaver's knot does a little bit too. They all kind of show the color change a little bit, except for the Russian join. However, I don't like the Russian join because of the thickness of it. But that's me. Monique wants to try the one that I just did. There's a method that only works with, oh, okay, yes. The felted join. And let me give you, I'm pretty sure I have a link. I have a felted join one link, a felted join tutorial. Felted, actually I might call, I think I call it the wet join. Let me see, wet join. So wet join or felted join. Here we go. Wet felt join is what I called it. All right. So yes, when I have a yarn that will felt, and that's what's important about it, okay, is it needs to be a yarn that will felt, which yes, wool felts most of the time, depending on the method that was used. Some wool is made to not felt, and it doesn't work as well with one of the washable wools that are made to not felt as easily. Um, but the wet felt join, you take your ends, okay? I'll show you basically what you do. It's just I can't actually make it work with this because I'm pretty sure at least this one is definitely acrylic. This one might actually be wool. No, this one's going to be, oh, this is super wash wool. So the pink is super wash wool. So sometimes you can make it work, sometimes not. The gray is acrylic, so it's not going to work with the gray. What I tend to do is I unply my wool, okay? I unply my pieces. All right, so I unply them back a few inches. Okay, in this case, I have a 3-ply and a 4-ply. Look at that. I was just going for two different color yarns that were as the thickest yarn I had that I had in two colors and was actually plied. All right, so I have these. And then what I do is I kind of take like half and half. I kind of like mush them. I join them where I stopped unplying them and kind of try to get the plies like through each other in various places so that it's really nice and mixed up together. Okay, so there we go. It's nice and mixed up together. Now, if you want to smooth this out as you're when you're making your felted join, as we continue, one of the things you can do is clip each of these plies at a different length. Okay, so there I have my gray plies all clipped at different lengths. And then here are my pink plies. I'll clip them all, you know, a little different length, so that each one a little bit longer than the one before. Okay. Now, what you do is also sometimes called a spit join, because sometimes people will just use a spit, okay, because it works best with a warm water. So you put some water on it. Let's see. It's not going to work for me, but hey, at least I'm wearing jeans, which does not happen often. All right, so I have some cold water here, all right, because it's good to drink. All right, so you get it nice and wet. And then what I do is I put it against, I like to do this against denim, all right, or any sort of like rougher fabric. You put it against the fabric and you rub it. You can rub it in your hands this way, all right? But I find that if I rub it, like I'm going to do it on my jeans here, it kind of works better. Let's see if I can get a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get anything going here because this isn't really, I have a super wash wool and an acrylic. But, all right, you can get the idea. All right, so you get the idea here of what that's doing. This is my favorite join when I have something that's feltable. 100% favorite join when I have something that's feltable. I can do it really fast. I can do it in the car, do it using the spit method. Sorry. I can do it, you know, it's just a great join, and it felts and I love it. So that is the wet felt join, and I did put those links in both Instagram and Crochet Foundry because and Facebook and YouTube, because I do have a tutorial for that on Jessie at Home. Let's see. First thing you're going to do when you go to New Orleans is a huge latte and beignet. Yes, definitely. Or you have the chicory coffee. The last knot you've tried and had a hard time understanding. Oh, the one that wraps around the thumb. Yeah, and I haven't made a tutorial for that one either. All right, that's my tutorials. Use wet felt join with a large wool. Yes, and I like the fact that unlike the Russian join, it fades out the thicker spot, and because you're felting it, it kind of gets a little thinner, so it kind of, I don't know, it doesn't make that thicker spot as you get better and better at making the wet felt join. Again, some of these have a little bit of a learning curve to them. The one hey Monique, you're saying you use the Russian join is the one that you've used with a larger wool. Yeah, and I mean, again, it depends on what you're making. It definitely, it looks better when it's a solid color, or a variegated color where the colors change so much that you don't notice that there's kind of two going through each other. Um, but it does leave that thicker spot that just bugs me. All right. Um, so yeah, there you go. There's several kinds of, just checking the time here, several kinds of joins. So I have, let's see, we have the weaver's knot, which was the slip knot. You slide the other one through and you flip the slip knot inside out. This is the wet felt join, which works better with yarn that actually felts. And then it works really, really well. It does not come apart. It's so cool. Every time I use it in front of somebody who's not seen it before, especially if they're not a yarn person, because I do this when I'm like doing medieval demos and stuff. A lot of times I do null binding for a medieval demo, and with null binding, you have to use like a length of yarn and do your null binding, and then you have to add a new piece on because it you can't go directly from a ball of yarn to do null binding because of the way that it works. It has to be, it's like you can't, it's the same idea as when you're sewing something. You can't sew from the spool of thread because you have to pull to the end at the first stitch, and the yarn gets smaller as you go towards what works up towards the needle, as opposed to knit and crochet that works towards the yarn ball. Null binding is like sewing where it works towards the needle, not towards the yarn ball. So that means, I cut myself like I'll usually do like a 2-yard piece, which is maybe a little excessive, but I don't like having to join. And then you do the wet felt join um, when you need to put a new piece on. So there's that one. And then let's see, what else do we have here? La, la, la. That's that one that I don't have a name for. There might be a name. If you know the name, let me know if there is a name. That's the one where I wrapped it around my thumb. That is also the wrapped around the thumb one. There is the Russian join. And then we have our magic knot. All right. So there you go. And of course, we also talked about making sure that you do, when you're changing colors and you want the top loop of your crochet stitch to be the same color as the new color of your next stitch, you need to do the last yarn over pull through in the new color. Let me just to give you a little visual, let me do one where I don't do that, and that way you can see what I'm talking about. So we're just going to do a couple single crochets here. We got 1, 2, 3. Okay, now it's time to change color. So I'm going to drop my yarn. I'm going to pick up the next color, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. All right, so you see how when I didn't do that, the top loop of here's my first gray stitch. Okay, so there is my first gray stitch, and the top loop of my first gray stitch is still pink, because that's what happens when you don't do that last yarn over pull through, because that last yarn over pull through is what makes the top loop of the next stitch. So that last yarn over pull through should have been done in gray if I wanted to have a nice even color change. Okay, now if your color changes happen to be going in this direction, then that might be really cool. Like if the next one, the pink goes all the way to here, then hey, cool beans, go for it. And then the next one, it goes to here and so on. Dude, totally works. But otherwise, and actually when you're the next row, since we're doing this in rows, not in rounds, the next row would have gone that way anyway. So most cases, changing your color, the best plan is to do the last yarn over pull through of the previous stitch with the new color. And a lot of times your patterns will say, it'll say 3 single crochet with color A, and then 3 single crochet with color B. And it won't tell you to do the yarn over pull through of the stitch of the third single crochet with color A in color B. It doesn't tell you that. It's just assumed that you're going to know how to do a color change. Okay, so it'll say, like, with color A, single crochet in each of the next 3 stitches, in next 3 stitches. Then with color B, single crochet in the next 3 stitches, and you'll go 1, 2, and then when you get to the third one with color A, you'll switch colors before doing the last yarn or pull through. Then you'll do your 3 single crochets in color B. All right. So there's all of that. Later on today, before 6 o'clock Eastern, there will be a new post on the Crochet Foundry blog, which will have the free printable for this yarn a day tracker, and also the free printables for the yarn themed monthly calendar for 2025. So that's 12 pages with that one. Like I said, I'm going to print this out on cardstock so that since I have to keep it for an entire year and everything, it will be in better shape. I've already started mangling this one. So I'm going to print mine out on cardstock. What I should do is I should make like a SVG, so that, you can like draw it with your Cricut and put it on like really fancy pants paper, but whatever. If you guys want to, figure out how to do that, I know there's ways to turn a PDF into an SVG, whatever it's called. There's ways to like just put it in your, there's free programs out there that'll turn it from a PNG or PDF to a SVG or whatever that works in the cutting machines that also will draw. So you just run it through there. You totally have my permission to run it through there, and then make your machine draw it on a really nice piece of paper. Or if you have a printer that will print on something better than cardstock, but cardstock is like the thickest paper I can run through my printer. My printer still does one of these things, where it has to like fold the paper around. So cardstock is really the thickest that I can do and have it actually work. Yeah, just, again, with both of with all of these printables and anything else on Crochet Foundry, if you want to share it with other people, the way you share it with other people is by giving them the link, and then they go there themselves and print it out. Because let's be honest, the reason why I'm giving you free stuff is to get you to look at me, and it's all business, right? I like giving you free stuff too, but I'm not going to lie about the fact that, at the end of the day, I have a mortgage to pay and 2 kids who are graduating high school, one of whom is going to go to Savannah College of Art and Design, which is not cheap, dudes. So I'm not even going to pretend like there isn't an ulterior motive to giving you free stuff. All right. But here you go, free stuff. It is fun. Let's see, and we have a couple. I think, was this a new comment? That would be cool. Don't know what you'd use to convert it, but you're saying, oh, if you need to convert a PDF to an SVG or whatever, first of all, make sure you know what kind of file you need. And then what I do, because a lot of times I have to convert a PDF to a PNG, which is a kind of photo, or a PNG to a PDF. A lot of times my designers will give me something in one form or the other that I need in the opposite form. And I literally will type into my computer PDF to PNG free. And it'll pop up. Okay, be careful when you do that though. Don't get yourself a virus. Don't, just, it's probably not the smartest move. Make sure you're using something that doesn't feel hinky, because it's a great way to get a virus when you just type in like PDF to SVG free or whatever. I found a few that I've bookmarked so that I know that, okay, this one is safe. And you can always just go to if you have one of those, if you have a Cricut or Silhouette or whatever, you can go to a group for people who have them and say, hey, what do you use to convert PDF files to SVG files? Is there a free one that you use that isn't going to give me a virus or whatever? And there's usually somebody in there who can help you. And that way you can not stress about crashing your computer, because, dude, those things aren't cheap, right? All right, I think we're good, and it's 12:54 Eastern anyway. So I'm going to have lunch, and then I'm going to finish this post to give you your freebies. And in a little over an hour, anyone who is signed up for the newsletter will get a reminder about tonight's sit and stitch. Tonight's sit and stitch is in a little over 5 hours from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern time. It is on Zoom. It is free to attend. You can come in and out as you like. You don't have to be there for the full 2 hours. I say that if it's 15 minutes till the end and nobody's there with me, I'll leave. But I don't think that ever happens. Sometimes I'm there by myself for a little bit at the beginning, but I think maybe like the first 1 or 2 sit and stitches I was there by myself at the end, but yeah, that doesn't tend to happen. So usually pretty much if you show up at any time, it's happening. And we sometimes tend to run a little late. My kids are like, Mom, you said you'd be back by now. Or they'll come down and just start sticking their faces in the sit and stitch because they know that they're allowed to be goofy with the sit and stitches. So there you go. All right. Well, I hope to see a bunch of you tonight in about 5 hours. Thank you so much. Yes, Sarah, we do talk too much on the sit and stitches, but it's so good. It's so fun. It's fun. We have a great time. And if some of us have gotten to the blah 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 blah, blah and you really need to say something, want to say something, whatever, and you can't, and you're like too shy to be like, dude, I know how to say something, you can always hit the little Zoom hand up button, and it'll show the little yellow hand or whatever color you make it, and we try to shut up and actually, share time. Monique's gonna be there a little late, and that's totally cool beans. All right. So I will see you all later. Next week, 1 week from today, is Christmas, and I will be at my in-laws' house. So there will not be a live or a sit and stitch next week. Okay. Next week will be one of the very few times there is not a Crochet Foundry live, because I know the majority of the people are going to be celebrating Christmas, and so I didn't even bother trying to throw money at somebody else to do the sit and stitch, to do the live for me. Normally I'll pay one of my mods to do the live for me if I can't do the live, but I'm not going to even ask this time because I don't think that there'll be anybody really coming by anyway. So there will not be a live or a sit and stitch 1 week from today. 2 weeks from today is New Year's Day. There will definitely not be a sit and stitch. So it's going to be 3 weeks until the next sit and stitch, one today and one in 3 weeks. I may do the live. We'll see. But there might not be a live on New Year's Day either. It really is going to depend on if I can get up or not. So don't count on it. All right. So we're probably going to be two weeks. We'll have the sit and stitch this evening, and then it'll be 2 weeks off and 3 weeks from today before we all meet up again for sure. Okay. In the meantime, use Crochet Foundry makers on Facebook, and use support@crochetfoundry.com, and use support@crochetfoundry.com for the email, and go ahead and send and ask questions, send me things, whatever, through those ways. That's the way to still communicate with us. Support@crochetfoundry.com and Crochet Foundry Makes on Facebook. All right. And I hope to have awesome, wonderful new things for y'all next year. In the 2025, and it will be awesome. Monique is saying January 8th is the day of the next time we're together. She says, yeah, take a break on I probably will take a break on New Year's. So January 8th will be the next time we'll all be together in this manner, and for sit and stitch other than tonight. And I should have a lot of fun things to tell you then. All right. Okay, everybody have a wonderful holiday season. Celebrate whatever you celebrate. Don't celebrate whatever you don't celebrate. Do whatever you want to do. Just have a good time. Take care of yourself. Remember to breathe. Try not to stress too much, especially with taxes. And drink plenty of water. And if you take meds, don't forget to take your meds. All right? You guys are awesome. Thank you. I will talk to you later.